In the natural world, food and movement are organically related. How you eat is based on your ability to get and prepare your food. By being directly involved at every step throughout your life, you maintain the skills and physique necessary to continue to cultivate, obtain, and process your own food. That's a quote from Katy Bowman, biomechanist. We'll be talking about her book today here on Book Talks, where we talk about books that we wish we had wrote. Alrighty, so one of the first topics that she goes into there is this idea of that you must work for your food. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and she kind of talks about how we've outsourced all our movement, and that we have these people who are specialized in these movements to collect food for us, and that we don't really have to work for our food anymore, or move for our food. And I think it's really interesting that we just get in these cars and we can just easily have available, just kind of pick up all these food without kind of going around and having to forage for it and move in all these different directions that we don't really experience anymore.
No, which is super strange because we've eliminated the need to move for food. Then we have to go to gyms and for an hour grind it out, get our mobility in to get warm. Which you think about mobility, it's like you get in a squat, you warm up your ankles, you stretch to the left, you stretch to the right. That's basically like being on the ground, like in a squat, duck walking around looking for berries or whatever, or walking around and hiking, those kinds of like low calorie, not intense things that give you mobility. That's just like moving around the natural world looking for stuff. So it's kind of a strange thing that we on one hand have tried to make our lives easier, like eliminating the movement, but actually we've made it more complicated because then we need to supplement it back in the gym.
Yeah, and Katie kind of talks about how we tend to be over specialized in certain movements, and we're extremely malnourished in other movements, and those are definitely movements that we're malnourished and we don't get on all fours anymore. We don't spend time in the steep squat or on all fours or any of these kind of quadrupedal locomotion movements. And Katie kind of says we can be divided into two movement specialist groups. There's the paid and forced slave laborers, which have a narrow range of highly repetitive movements, and so they're overtaxed in some movements but malnourished in others. And then there's the other group of rich in movement free time, but those people kind of reap the benefits of the first group and actually the result is typically just sedentary free time. And like you said, is we kind of, since we don't have that movement, we have to go for sports or exercise, and it results in malnourishment of these other movements as a result.
Yeah, I mean, neither of those categories are really ideal. Both kind of have their drawbacks. It's either you don't move at all through your day, and then for 1 hour a day you go to CrossFit and you do a blowout workout and try to just make up for everything, or you're breaking your back planting seeds and corn and shit, and you're doing the same thing throughout the day, all day, every day, and then you're missing certain movements. So I mean, but that could also be argued as kind of the fucking plight of the agricultural age. It's when we started planting only specific things rather than looking for berries and meat and all these different things, that's when we had to specialize in techniques for planting rice or planting beans or whatever, and spending all of your time just trying to do that, versus the variations of movement that you would experience if you were just moving through the natural world looking for morel mushrooms or looking for a deer or something. When you have that sort of hunter-gatherer approach, because your food source is going to come from many different areas, you're going to be ending up moving in many different environments and many different places, which is going to encourage you to move in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the grocery store, you gotta climb a fucking tree, pick an apple, and like, you know, persistence hunt a deer, you know, bow hunt, and all that stuff. It's like, I don't know, I think when you see that stuff, you kind of get kind of stoked on it, because you're just like, I think it's like a primal instinct where you're like, oh, this is what I'm meant to fucking do.
Yes.
And you get like, but like, I don't know, we don't really experience that too much. And like, once people kind of get a taste of that shit, they kind of realize it's like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is what I should be doing. And it's like, I get the same way when I spearfish. It's like, man, like I'm in the water and I'm just kind of searching around. It's like almost think of it as a situation where it's like, if I don't get something, I'm not eating tonight. And it's like, you just get this super stoke, and I don't know, it's just really fucking cool. But
that what you just said makes me feel like, because you're not, like with exercise, I feel like you're thinking about the reps, you're thinking about the sets, you're kind of like having to push yourself through this sort of monotonous thing. But are you thinking about that when you're swimming around, or are you just thinking, I want to find the flounder or the striper or whatever? Like, you're just goal oriented, right?
Yeah, you kind of like, you're not thinking of like, oh, I'm doing this so I can swim to burn some calories for the day. It's like, no, I've actually, like, you've hit this like flow state where it's just like, you know, you're not really thinking, you're empty-minded. It's like meditation almost. Like you're just kind of like meditation. Yeah, the OG meditation. Like I don't have to set aside a time to like, you know, do a bunch of ohms and shit. It's just like I'm the most present I'll ever be, like in the water, like, and yeah, I don't view it as exercise. It's like, oh, I'm looking for a fish, like, so I can eat. And you know, if I don't catch anything, like, you know, I still come out of the water like super relaxed, super recentered, and luckily I have the opportunity to go to the store. But you know, back in the day, we didn't really have that opportunity. But
well, I think that's like super important because there's this whole thing of like fitness motivation. It's like I need somebody to like get me pumped up to go work out. Like, that's, in my eyes, the reason you need some like a CT Fletcher to tell you what to do is because you've disconnected from like a good sort of natural biological drive. And one of the biggest biological drives for movement is food. Like, obviously, in the natural world, you have to move to get food, to get more energy. That's what's going to keep you to moving. So it's like, if you just align your movement practice with that natural drive or need, it's like, you're not going to need someone to tell you why you should be doing it. You just sort of intrinsically know, like, I need to get the fish, I need to get the coconut, whatever, and you just do whatever you need to do to get it. There's no pumping you up. It's just, I want this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tandem, like a give and take. You need movement for food, and you need food for movement, and that there's a huge disconnect now. And now we kind of view, it's like, you know, instead of viewing it as this like, I need to move so I can get food, it's more of a, oh, I need to move because I ate all this food. It's like the role, there's a huge role reversal. It's like, how many times have you like been like, oh, like I'm gonna work off, like, if I eat something shitty, like, I'm gonna work off this later, I'm gonna do 100 jumping jacks, or I'm gonna do 100 burpees. It's like, there was none of that shit.
Yeah.
It was like, no, I need to move because I need to eat tonight so I can live. And yeah, I mean, now it's just this whole like, I deserve it because I went on a run and all this other nonsensical bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, I think kind of brings into like the whole movement for food, and it kind of brings into that like whole stacking your life thing that Katy talks about. Is like, it's not multitasking, but it's actually just like combining multiple tasks into one, and like when you're out and you're not just moving, but you're also collecting food, and you're also getting that time in nature, sun, and you're spending time with people. Like, a lot of people don't or spend too much time in solitude. Not that solitude's a bad thing, but we are in a weird time right now. But spending time with people, going out, like collecting food, or just doing stuff like that, and stacking your life, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's got to be one of the biggest sort of perspective shifters she offers, where it's like, it kind of goes back to the idea, it's like you can outsource all these things, but that just creates this need to then supplement them back in. Like, you can have somebody else in the fields, planting your crops and then giving you the food, raising the chickens for you, giving you the eggs, like doing all these things for you while you stay inside in your AC and have your executive job and make a lot of money, and then go buy those things from those people. But then at the end of the day, you still need to move if you want to feel good and be happy and be healthy. So it's like, you're not actually saving time, you're actually increasing the time, because now you have to work 8 hours a day, and then go to the gym, and then spend time with your family, and then get sunlight. And if you try to do all those things separately, like, you're always going to be doing stuff. So I think what she's arguing for is, like, wherever you can, just bring all those things together. Like, you need to move, you need to interact with people, you want to get more sunlight, be outside. You can do all of those things at the same time.
Yeah, go on a hike with your family. Yes, you spend time with your family, you just spend some time in nature, you got some sun, and you got some movement in there. And if if you want to classify it as exercise, not think that word has a negative connotation, but you got some exercise, quote unquote.
Right.
It's these people come home, they're, like you said, it's like people come home and it's like, oh, I have to work out, and then I have to spend time with my family, and then I have to do this, I have to do that. But it's like, you can easily, like, stack those things all into one, and I don't think people realize that. And I think if you once people kind of start to see that, it's like you actually open up a lot of more time for yourself, and be able to do more things that you actually enjoy, instead of trying to plan your day around all these little micro things.
Yeah, it's just more things on the to-do list, which doesn't make them enjoyable.
No.
Like, to me, movement is a way to sort of, like, connect with your body, which, like, you could say is your inner nature. But if you're looking to connect with nature, both inner and outer, it's like, do that outside. Like, you might as well be connecting with your body and the ground, or the ocean, or the mountain, or whatever. And you're also gonna feel more energized and engaged when you're in that environment, versus, like, a box, versus a closed, fluorescently lit, steamy, sweaty space. Like, that's not very motivating. But where do we have natural drive to move? In the natural world. Like, I do not enjoy, I in the past have not enjoyed running until I started doing it on a trail. And then it was like, I want to know what's around the next corner. Or, like, I used to do this, like, go right before dark, and it starts to get, like, a little bit spooky, because it's like there's this natural feeling of, like, I need to get the hell out of this forest before dark comes. I need to get back to the bell tower. See, it's time. I gotta get back to supper time. The tribe just cooked supper, and I gotta get back there. But that will get me going and get me moving, unlike just knowing I have 5 miles to run around the block or something like that. So, like, I just feel like that is one of the easiest, simplest ways, which, granted, we live in a cold place, so you can easily make excuses about not doing that. But I don't know, I usually find that that's usually just some internal excuse I've made about, oh, it's cold, like, I don't want to do this outside. But
it's your inner bitch speaking.
which is strong. It's a strong inner bitch.
No, I think another, like, to add on to that is the big thing I've started doing in the past year is getting rid of the fucking headphones. Like, it's too easy to, like, you know, throw on the headphones and throw on these, you know, big cast iron shoes. Because I'm not a big fan of, you know, I'm into these, what, you know, some call minimalist. I think a better word is natural footwear. And it's like you become so disconnected with what you're doing, especially when you run on these, like, unnatural surfaces. But when you do these exercises, you run, like, on these unnatural surfaces or whatever, you're kind of becoming, like, you know, you might be outside, but you're also disconnecting yourself on another level. Like, listening to music, you're not present. You're kind of just, like, you know, you're off in la la land, just, like, disconnected to the movements that you're making and not really focused on what you're doing at that moment. And yeah, like you said, like, running in nature, like doing some trail runs is, like, I can go on for hours and not even, like, realize how far I've run or what I've done, just being so present, like, having to watch every step and, you know, listening to the birds, listening to, like, the water running, the trees being blown by the wind. It's so much more natural. You're so much more connected with your surroundings instead of just throwing on, trying to get amped for this music. It's like, yeah, well, you know, maybe now it's a little different, but, you know, you didn't have a song. You couldn't just throw in, like, wait a sec, let me go to YouTube, put on my favorite song, get me the most amped I'm ever gonna get to kill this thing or hunt this thing. It's like, no, like, all you have is you and yourself, like, and you need to be, like, present. And that's, like, being present, just listening to the nature and connecting with the ground, and yeah, not headphones and songs to motivate you.
Do you have a song?
I do have a song. I mean, 100%. I mean,
what's your song? I've got a song.
Well, it depends on the mood. You know, I've went through phases of super heavy, like, dubstep-y kind of stuff, and, you know, I kind of like that Nero, like, Skrillex vibe, but at the same time, like, I also love, like, country music. I love it.
Wow.
I love it all, but I think country. I'm not saying, like, music is terrible, because, like, obviously, no. Like, it's a form of, like, of expression, and, like, you know, I will definitely listen to music if, like, sometimes if I'm lifting some kettlebells or whatever, but
that's a time, I would say.
Yeah, there's a time and place for it. And I think if you're trying to spend time in nature, then
do it. Yeah.
Do it the right way.
Yeah.
I mean,
my
what's your song
is Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. It's like full adrenaline dump every single time. So now it's just, like, built into my nervous system. I just get fucking psyched every single time. It's a great song. But you make, like, a good point there, which again goes back to the stacking thing. Like, if you are the type of person that wants to do some sort of meditation or mindfulness thing and work out and be outside, it's like, again, those can be one thing. Like, yeah, you can sit on your cushion and listen to your breathing for a half hour, which is a good thing to do if you have time to do that, and go for a hour and a half run. But if you only have time for one, then why are you plugging in to your phone to your music while you're on your run? Like, that is a perfect time to listen to your breathing the whole way. And yeah, it can be a little bit uncomfortable at times, and it can be weird to just, like, be alone with your thoughts and stuff, but it's also kind of necessary in some ways too. And so it's just like, if you're gonna do it anyways, you might as well do it. It's just like a great opportunity to engage in that way.
For sure. I totally agree with that.
All right. I feel like that was pretty...
I feel like we did pretty good.
We could go on and on. Katy's got a lot of great thoughts. I mean, she's a mechanist. I never know which way to say that. But I feel like her biggest thing is just sort of shaping perspectives and expanding perspectives on movement, and how your lifestyle is one of the biggest factors in the way that you move and how healthy you can be. So Movement Matters is a great little read on there. A bunch of little essays with all sorts of topics like the ones we talked about.
Yeah, she has a bunch of other books that currently in the making or currently reading. Sorry.
Yeah.
In the making.
So we'll be back with those.
We'll be doing some more with her, and I think our next book review might be coming up soon, or book talk. I'm sorry. And
book talks,
not reviews. And thank you guys for listening, and cheers.
Adios.